Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user FS-in-law in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled AITA for telling my brother's fiance that we don't owe her a family. My stepbrother Nico has recently gotten engaged to a woman called Jenny after dating for 2 years. We all tried to welcome Jenny, especially knowing that she grew up in the foster care system and didn't have family. We tried to get to know her, but she seemed to want an instant, intimate connection rather than building one. Me and my younger stepsister Chelsea bore the brunt of her neediness, but our parents have also expressed concerns. Since she met us, she has been trying to insert herself into pictures, family disputes, and social events. She has no boundaries. We've all talked to Nico about it so many times, even sitting him down as a family, and he keeps saying he will talk to her, but nothing changes, and it's gotten worse since the engagement. She tried to make me her maid of honor, demanded my mother throw her a bridal shower, started calling my parents mom and dad even though they asked her not to, and reached out to distant family members that we don't even talk to tell them about the engagement. Last week, we were all staying at our parents' place. Jenny, Nico, and my boyfriend were the only ones not up yet, and the rest of us were in the kitchen. Chelsea, my mom, and I were talking about taking a weekend trip. Jenny came in, having overheard us, saying it sounded like fun, and proceeded to invite herself along. I was pretty annoyed by this and said she couldn't just invite herself. Jenny said why wouldn't she be invited, and I said because marrying Nico doesn't give you a blanket invite to every single thing all his family does. Jenny got upset and said she would really like to be included in our family since it was the only one she knows and she doesn't have a proper family. I said I know that and we all sympathize, but that doesn't mean we owe you a new one. The whole room was silent and Jenny got up and went back upstairs. She didn't come out the rest of the day, but Nico came down to chew me out over what I said. Our parents defended me saying he had an opportunity to talk to Jenny and he didn't. He and Jenny left the same day, and he's now only keeping low-level contact with everyone. When I've spoken to him since, he's just said I went way too low with what I said to Jenny and that I've set her back mentally and that she's really down. I do feel bad, but I also feel like Jenny has been overstepping. We are all open to a relationship with her, but she never really made a genuine effort to build relationships with us. She just decided she was entitled to them, which I think isn't fair. I don't know if I should reach out to Nico or Jenny with a more fervent apology, which I will if I've really screwed up here. I don't want to be the reason Nico stops talking to us. I just feel like he dropped the ball by letting it get to this point. Edit, I'm adding this because I thought it was implied, but maybe not. We do push back when Jenny is being intrusive. I can't count how many times I've said, Jenny, I'm not comfortable talking about my sex life and about therapy or medication. It's really personal. Can we just change the subject? We move on from the conversation, but the next time I talk to her, it's back to square one. Same with my parents. They politely ask her not to call them mom and dad, and she stops for the duration of that conversation and then starts again next time. We've never had a more in-depth conversation with her. We offered and Nico said no, he would talk to her. Edit 2. For everyone saying I should consider Jenny family because she's engaged to Nico, that isn't what I meant with that comment. I commented this elsewhere, but I'm copying because it encapsulates what I was trying to get across. I never said or meant that she isn't part of the family. I guess what I meant with what I said was you can't parachute yourself in and expect us to be the family you deserve, because the family every person deserves is one with their mom and their dad, and it's happy and it's from birth and you don't have to do anything to earn it. Sadly, not everyone gets that. I know I didn't. And I know how much it must suck for her to feel like she has to work for what other people got for free. I have a bad bio dad, so I kind of know. You think, why do I have to be good and clever and kind and a million other things to have a good family while all anyone else has to do is just be born? And it's the worst. But when you come into a family that already exists, that's the way it is. They learn to love you and it takes time. My stepdad didn't love me the second he met me or love me just because he loved my mom. He got to know me and figured out who I was as a person, and he loved me for me. We wanted to have that opportunity with Jenny, and maybe that doesn't feel good enough for her, and I guess it's not really fair that she doesn't have the other kind of unconditional love, but I don't think that's up to us or anyone to fix. That's just my view. User Southie said, well, Jenny was just going to keep pushing until someone pushed back, so this moment was more or less inevitable. You named the elephant elephant in the room, Jenny's neediness, which your whole family had noticed. I don't know whether Nico failed to talk to her in private or whether he did and she failed to heed his warnings. I also don't know if getting to join what she perceived as a close-knit family is a large part of what makes Nico attractive to her, but I do know that your comment stung deeply and Jenny won't stop feeling it for a long time. It's not impossible that this precipitates a breakup between Nico and Jenny, and if it does, it is highly likely that the blame is going to come your way, so an apology is in your strategic interest, regardless of whether your comment was justified or not. I think my final vote is going to be everyone sucks here. Jenny for being pushy, Nico for not warning her that her pushing wasn't going unnoticed, and you for saying something really wounding. User Cronberry said, as an only child, I can relate to Jenny. I don't try to insert myself into my wife's family like Jenny is, but I really can understand where she's coming from. Some families are more in line with what she imagined. My mother-in-law acts like she's my mom, and I doubt I know her much better than Jenny knows yours. I've had girlfriends in the past whose siblings or cousins fully embraced me as part of the family. Pretty much the reverse of what Jenny is doing. Not the a-hole because you guys are allowed to live your own way, but maybe cut her some slack. If she's acting like one of the family, just roll with it. Unless there are some other problems you haven't mentioned, there's no harm in humoring her most of the time, especially if it leads to a deeper connection. To this comment, OP said, we have humored her. We've humored her for 2 years, but since the engagement, it's gone into overdrive. It was embarrassing for my parents to get messages from their cousins and second cousins whom they see once every 5 years, asking who Jenny was because she was sending them Facebook messages. It's hard to not be able to have any conversation with a family member where she can see you because she has to know the details of what you're talking about. I'm sorry, but I don't think Jenny needs to know about my sex life just because I'm telling Chelsea. It's not the same. Again, I understand she's not used to the dynamics, but at the same time, she has friends. She built those relationships, so why can't she build these ones? Update. Wow, that post blew up in no small part to my extensive replies while sitting in an airport lounge on a layover. I am still getting messages asking for an update, so here goes. First, thanks everyone for your advice. I received some really insightful messages and comments which were really helpful and heartfelt. Long story short, we decided to have a session with a family mediator. It was me, my boyfriend, Jenny, Nico, my parents, and Chelsea. I am not sure I can fit in all the insights from the session, so I'll stick to key things. Firstly, for all those wondering if Nico ever actually told Jenny what we said, Nico talked to Jenny about our concerns precisely twice. A third of the times we brought it up. She said it was presented to her as an offhand comment from our parents rather than the intervention it was. Second, basically one of the main things that came up was how Nico kind of sold our family to Jenny as a blended family she could slot into, and she got really invested in that. Nico said he kept hoping that it would all work itself out once Jenny felt more secure in their relationship. Then came the real crux. Jenny said she wasn't just looking for a relationship with Nico, but with a whole family. And we all had a long discussion about what that looked like for us in an ideal world, and it was vastly different. Then the mediator asked her the question, if you never get the relationships you want from this family, do you think you'll still be able to have a happy relationship? And she said she didn't know. This kind of triggered Nico, who said he felt like Jenny was making him feel like he wasn't enough on his own, that she wanted a family from him more than a relationship with him. Then Jenny got upset and said, why couldn't we all just try to be the family she needed, at which point my boyfriend had an uncharacteristic moment of insanity and went off on her, then he and I left the room. I was right in the middle of lecturing him when everyone else came out except Nico and Jenny and said that they need the rest of the session to discuss what had been said. Nico came back to our parents' place later and said he and Jenny are taking a beat because she's ruminating on what the mediator said, and he's pretty crushed that she might not want to be with him if he doesn't come with a ready-made family attached. He said he was prepared to pretty much give up a family for her, but she won't even give up the idea of one for him. He's now staying with my boyfriend and me until further notice. We haven't had any further conversations with him and Jenny. He's not in the headspace for it. If they stay together, I foresee a lot more mediation. At the end of the day, everyone on the thread was right in some way. I was an a-hole for saying what I said in the way I said it, and this conversation between all of us should have happened earlier. This next post was made in the same subreddit by a user named OK Organization. The post is titled AITA for kicking my wife out after she punched my mom in the face. My situation went from bad to worse in a matter of a week, and I don't know where else to turn. I need to know if I was wrong. Possibly a validation thing because life is freaking dumb right now. My wife and I have been together for 8 years, and she just gave birth to our first baby 2 months ago. Up until my wife got pregnant, my mom loved her. I'm not sure what's wrong with my mom or why the switch happened, but after my wife got pregnant, my mom started being very clingy to me and started avoiding my wife at all costs. Told everyone she wasn't excited about the pregnancy, etc. I threatened to go no contact with her when my wife was about 7 months along, and after that, she snapped out of it for the most part and stopped being so ignorant. The comments 100% stopped, at least, though she still was clinging to me. Now, a week ago, my mom, my sister's husband, and my sister's daughter came over for dinner. I prepared the meal. Before my wife could eat anything, our daughter got fussy, so my wife excused herself to go feed the baby and get her down to sleep. I thought I prepared enough, but apparently not, because my niece was still starving. She's 5'5" and 190 pounds. I haven't seen her in a year, and she was not that size then, so I didn't exactly portion in an extra 3 helpings for a child, so it's on me. I apologized and told her that I hadn't made any more and offered her crackers, as I was putting my wife's portion in the fridge. After that, I just went outside with my sister's husband to smoke a cigarette and shoot the breeze. Didn't think anything of it. But then I hear yelling from inside. When I walk in, my wife and my mom were screaming at each other. Apparently, my mom gave my niece my wife's portion of food. As I was walking inside, I heard my mom say, "Looks like you can afford to skip a meal," and slap my wife's stomach. Right as soon as I get ready to step in, my wife winds back and punches my mother square in the face and drops her. The whole house went silent outside of my mom crying and holding her face. I tell everyone to get the fuck out. Immediately everyone leaves and my wife just turns toward the counter and leans with her hands on the counter and face down, eyes closed. I look at my wife and say, "You too, leave now." She says, "Really?" She's crying at this point. I say a clipped, "Yup." She packs up her and the baby and leaves. I texted her that night and said I just need space. I need to decompress and come to terms with what just happened. She doesn't respond. The next 5 days I'm texting and calling and I get nothing. She shows up here today and hands me divorce paperwork and my baby and says, "Here, you have a bit to hang out with her while I pack. Where I'm breastfeeding, we can work out a visitation schedule that is either at your place or my mother's until she will take a bottle." I told her that's not what I want. I don't want to separate. I just needed time to process her punching my mother in the face. She said, "You needing time to process gave me time to process the fact that I refused to be in this situation any longer. I defended myself. I initially felt bad and remorseful, but you making me leave when I needed you made me see more clear. I'm done. I'm sorry for what I did, but there's no fixing this." She refused to speak to me at all the rest of the time that she was here. My house feels so empty and I don't know what to do. Am I the asshole for making her leave after she punched my mom? I just needed some freaking space. Edit, for the record, I am team wife. My mom deserved it, wholeheartedly, and I've blocked her completely from my life. I literally just needed time to process what happened. My wife is a lot of things, violent is not one of them, so this came completely out of left field and would not have happened without her being provoked. After it all happened, my mom sent me a text saying, "See, I told you she was crazy. That fat bitch doesn't belong in our life." I'm willing to bet she purposely tried setting my wife off. So no, I'm on my wife's side 100%. I truly just needed to process what happened and my wife took it as me giving up on her, not defending her, and throwing her and our baby out. Edit 2. The reason why. My dad was stupid abusive. I was beat. My sisters and brother were beat. My mom was put in the hospital multiple times. It took years for police to enforce restraining orders, and he finally died in 2013. Violence scares the out of me. I clam up and get anxious around violence of any kind now. My wife knows this, and she too grew up with a violent dad, and she gets just as anxious and panicky around violence. Her punching my mom in the face triggered an anxious response, and I needed her gone in that moment. I needed it far away from me. I don't know why I didn't just leave. I could have, but in that moment I just let my emotions and fear run the whole freaking circus and told everyone to get out, her included. My mom did slap her first. I guess for some reason I was seeing my wife's punch as being worse than the slap. It wasn't a hard slap, but my wife did kind of wince looking back on it now. She was fine following, but my mom was bleeding, split her eyebrow open in good shape. Thanks for the responses. I'm the asshole. I'm going to try to go kiss ass now. User Nickel Pickle said, processing what happened is one thing, but not supporting your wife and kicking her out is another. Your mom is out of line. If you would have checked her a long time ago, it wouldn't have gotten to this point. Your mom treated your wife poorly because you allowed it. Even your mom's text that she sent you shows that she thinks that it's okay to disrespect your wife. I guarantee your wife had been putting up with your mom's crap for a long time. She's had enough. You're not going to win her back. User A Rose said, you're the asshole. Your mother is an abusive piece of shit and your wife reacted after she was provoked. You should have shut her down when she first started acting up. You should have set boundaries. You should have protected your wife who literally just grew and birthed your child. You kicked your wife and baby out of their home. You need to process, take a walk, go to a different room, watch a movie, see a friend. Congratulations, you ruined your marriage over several months. This was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Do the decent thing and make separating easy. A deleted user said, you're the asshole. You kicked out your wife and child after she was verbally abused by your mother. I can't tell you how much of an asshole you are. You should have left, not your wife. So much you're the asshole. Edit. I was hesitating to call what the mother did physical assault if it was a soft slap, like something you would do to a friend. But given the letter writer's edit, it sounds like it was a hard slap. So yeah, you're an even bigger asshole. Letter writer. Congrats for tanking your marriage in one fell swoop. This last post was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a user named That A Boy Gary. The post is titled, My wife will not let me take a nap. She always wakes me up or does her best to prevent me from falling asleep. I work for an agricultural company where my weekly hours fluctuate between 60 and 120 while also working on getting a degree. My amazing wife is a homemaker by choice. All of this is okay. My issue comes from when on occasion I am exhausted and will start to fall asleep or will purposefully go try to take a nap. Our entire marriage, she has woken me up or flat refused to let me fall asleep. I have tried talking to her numerous times and she is unable to articulate what the issue is. Today, I got off early after 10 straight 16-hour days, took her on a lunch date, then came home and decided to take a quick nap before working on school. Within minutes of laying down, she came into the room and began shaking me, turning on lights and other obnoxious behavior. How can I articulate to her my need for an occasional nap? And how can I get her to articulate what her apparent unmet needs are so I do not go insane because it is at a point where I am feeling disrespected and unappreciated? Edit. Thank all of you so much for the responses. I have tried to read all of them and reply. I truly was not expecting this kind of response over what I thought was a me not communicating clearly problem. It is clear that there is more at play here, and I will be working with my therapist to develop two plans. One, to try and work with my wife one last time to address and fix the underlying issue, and two, a way out if plan one fails. Again, thank you all for the kind words, the pointed yet truthful words, and even for some of the more extreme suggestions. There truly are great people left on the planet. Update. The Monday after making the post, she picked a fight over the yard not being mowed. After telling her I was done with the way she was behaving, she refused to accept this and said she would never leave. Fast forward to Wednesday night, I come home late again to find two vehicles with trailers loaded with everything we owned, minus papers and her designer bags. When I walked in the house, she and her family left. Thankfully, the landlord had a couch that I could sleep on, using my clothes as bedding because they took everything needed to live, including yanking the curtains and curtain rods off the wall. Thursday night, I came home and she was back. This time, she tried picking a fight by chasing me around the house and lunging at me. When I told her I would call the sheriff if she did not leave, she began twisting and hitting her forearm, screaming she was gonna hurt herself and tell the sheriffs I hurt her. I left the house and called the sheriffs for help. They were able to provide me a way to leave as her family was on the way back. Since then, she has sent 2,000 text messages, flipping between wanting to come back and me being the worst man alive. My attorney filed for a petition for divorce this past Friday. She will be served this week and I am anticipating her to go postal. If anything happens, I'll let all you great folks know. Thank each and every one of you that commented on the original post. It was you who opened my eyes and helped me take the opportunity of her leaving to end this nightmare. User Magefight said, I have a feeling there is a lot more to her behavior before either post that he was overlooking or not realizing because he was too busy working or too blinded by his love for her. And that isn't a knock on him, I just think it's easy to overlook bad or abusive behavior, even more so if one is exhausted because they are working themselves to the bone. 10 days straight of 16-hour shifts is insane. The fact that she wouldn't allow him a nap is absurd, but also maybe keeping him sleep deprived was intentional. I really hope he leaves her completely because this whole situation sounds incredibly unhealthy. User I'm Not Creepy said, "It makes me sad that he calls her actions picking a fight when she's just straight up being abusive to him. My dad did similar things to my mom, like not letting her sleep even though she worked 12 hours a day and took care of us kids, while he didn't work at all." User Donahow said, "What, and I cannot stress this enough, the actual fuck. First of all, if I'm tired and you try to wake me up, you get about 2 to 3 times to do that *T. I'll tell you once softly, kindly, lovingly. The second time will be to leave me the hell alone, or it better be good. The third time I'll either disappear to go sleep somewhere else or put earplugs in, a sound machine on, and a lock on the door. You'll have to call a SWAT team to get me out of that bed." Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.